Okay, so imagine you're a scientist. You have spent years working how Africa is going to break apart. You know the route, you know the timeline, you have published papers on it. You're confident. And then some hot springs in the middle of the Zambia just completely embarrass you. Because what came out of those springs in 2026 shouldn't exist up here. A type of helium that only comes from one place on Earth, not the crust, not anywhere near the surface. The mantle, the literal molten interior of the planet, which means there's a crack under Zambia going all the way down, not kind of deep, all the way. And it's not sitting there doing nothing. It's active right now, today, while you're watching this. Scientists had the whole breakup of Africa thing mapped out. Decades of work. Turned out they were staring at the wrong place the entire time. So everyone was watching the East African Rift. And honestly, fair enough. It's huge. Runs from Ethiopia all the way down to Mozambique, slowly tearing the Somali plate away from rest of the Africa. It's why Great Rift Valley exists. It's why you have these enormous ancient lakes like Tanganyika sitting there like inland seas. The continent is peeling, has been for millions of years. But here's the problem. It keeps hitting the walls. Because every side of Africa is basically hemmed in by underwater mountain ranges that push back. Scientists knew this. They just assumed that's how Africa's breakup would go. Painfully slow, eastern route eventually. Nobody was thinking about Zambia. Here's the thing about Kafue Rift in central Zambia. It was supposed to be dead, except small earthquakes nobody could feel, but instruments kept catching. Ground temperatures running hotter than they should. Satellites keep picking up tiny shifts in elevation, and these hot springs just sitting right on top of it all. That last part is what got scientists' attention. Hot springs don't just show up, something below is pushing heat upwards. And the question is, how far below? So an Oxford team goes out, tests the gas bubbling up from the springs, and looks for one very specific thing, a rare type of helium called helium-3. The crust has almost none of it. The mantle is full of it. Finding it out coming off a spring is basically the Earth's interior leaving you a voicemail. And the worst part is, they actually found it exactly like the mental ones. And when they tested springs 95 kilometers away from the rift, those springs bubbles were completely normal. Nothing normal. So, this wasn't just random geological weirdness. It was specific. It was real on that specific hot springs in central Zambia. The Kafue Rift isn't dead. It has a direct connection to the interior of the planet. And this is where it stops being a Zambia story and becomes an everybody story. Because Kafue Rift isn't alone. It's a part of a system stretching 2,500 kilometers from Tanzania through Zambia, Botswana, all the way to Namibia. And scientists think it may connect all the way to the mid Atlantic ridge, where the Atlantic Ocean is already pulling open. So that means if this link fully forms just one continuous tear, it would come apart coast to coast entirely. And the rock beneath basically wants this to happen. Old continental crust has structural weak points baked in from billions of years ago, like a perforation line on cardboard. The geology under Zambia lines up perfectly with the mid-ocean ridges. It's the path of least resistance. One researcher said it plainly. We now have an established pathway for Africa to break apart all the way to the Atlantic. The rift everyone was watching was a distraction. This is the real one. Now, here's something that doesn't make the headlines. While a splitting continent sounds like a bad news for Zambia, this is actually an economic opportunity because the mantle is directly hitting the crust from below. The geothermal potential is enormous. And then here's this helium thing. Helium is genuinely hard to find and strategically important for MRI machines, semiconductors, fiber optics, space technology, and whatnot. So, the continent is tearing itself apart. and it's doing Zambia a favor in the process. The ground under your feet feels permanent. It always has. Every civilization in history has been built on one assumption that the land stays put. But the land has never been permanent. Not once in 1.5 billion years. And somewhere in central Zambia, a few unremarkable hot springs are quietly proving it, one bubble at a time.